It turns out, when he used to give haircuts to the children, he would make sure never to give haircuts like the goyim. The goyim, they have square backs. Square backs like a priest. You ever see the back of a priest's head? It's very square, the hair. He would make sure not to square it too much. To give very short haircuts, very yeshivish haircuts, and he make sure to do a haircut. You see 1 minute. Like 1 minute job, 2 minute job. 1, 2, 3. That's how you have to look. What? We look nice and clean. Al-Havdil, the Marines, they also get very short haircuts. They know that you don't need long hair to be attractive, to be looking respectable. And it turns out, you make sure never to give a square back like the priest. Now, Motzai Shabbat, after Shabbat was over, Rev Avrohom would be the last person to do malacha. He wouldn't rush to do malacha. He said, why should I rush to do malacha? And rush away Shabbat? Let me stay. I'll sing Pizmonim. I'm Avdil B'Kor Shlocho. Chatotenu Yimcho. Tzavenu V'Chespenu Yadvek. Kacho Chavim B'Layla. Kacho Chavim B'Layla. He would sing like that. And it turns out, he would never like doing business, even though sometimes people would want to go to yeshiva to open up the candy store or to work in the stender shop or a haircut. He said, no, Motzai Shabbat's not for work. Motzai Shabbat, Milava Malka, sing Pizmonim, and that's just to go work. One time, his daughter was getting engaged, and as his daughter was getting engaged, he felt that, you know what, the family needs clothing, and he wanted to go on Sunday. But they said, Abba, if we go Sunday, we might miss out the sale. Can we go Motzai Shabbat? He told him, really, I don't like doing business Motzai Shabbat. I don't like working with money Motzai Shabbat. Why should I rush away Shabbat? And it's like embarrassing. It's like insulting Shabbat. If right after Shabbat you go and do malacha. And if I would, let's say, play my game, the digital derby or something like that, right after Shabbat, like electronic game, you'd say, Maimin, relax. What are you rushing away from Shabbat? Enjoy the special moment of closeness to Hashem, where you are from the greatest people alive, where you go and say that Hashem made the world, and that's why I'm resting, just like Hashem rested. But one time they said, Abba, we really have to go to the store. So Rev Avrohom said, okay, I'm going to go with you, but I'm not paying tonight the money. We'll just go there, and when we go there, you can go and just put it on hold, put it on layaway. And when you right away, as they went to the store, they put the clothes, the special clothes they needed for the wedding, on layaway, and they were thinking if only they could buy it. And right then, there was a bunch of goyim standing around a bench. And they were all wondering, what's on this bench? What's on this bench? And what was there was a little purse, a little leather purse of money. And everyone was like wondering, whose is this? Whose is this? So really, what was that? That was an Avidah, it was a lost article. And probably it belonged to a guy, because it was in a mall, Euclid Mall, which was mostly goyim. So Rev Avrohom was walking with his little youngest daughter, Nechama. And as they were walking, he said as a joke, he was telling her, look, he was talking to his daughter, look, Nini, he said, look how everyone's surrounding money, everyone's looking for the money, and surrounding the leather purse. And then he said for a joke, he said, Nini, go get your purse. He wanted to see what she would do. So she just walked right through the crowd, picked out the purse, and just walked back to her father. My father was like, oh my God, I didn't mean to say, I was just saying what you would say. But what happened? Everyone walked away. They figured, that was the owner of the purse. And they just left. My father realized that Avidat Akum, it was a lost article of Goyim. And what's the halacha? Do you have to return that Avidat Goy? No. So he just kept it. And as he's walking, they opened up the purse. And there was exactly the amount of money needed to buy the dress in the purse. Exactly. So it was like $42.37 at that time for that certain part of the dress that they needed. It was like a blouse or something. To a penny. Why? He didn't want to do business on Motzai Shabbat. He didn't want to go run away from Shabbat for money. Hashem said, "Don't worry, you won't need the money. I'll deliver the money to the mall. You'll be able to buy the gown there." It turns out he always made sure every Erev Shabbat Fridays to send money to Tzedakah, always Shomer Balanes and to the yeshiva. From taking the earnings of the week, and he would send money with his sons. Go put this in a yeshiva tzedakah box, give a tzedakah to the yeshiva. You never forget that. And it turns out, finally came the day of his son's bar mitzvah, Elio, who was named after Avrohom's father, and after Rosh Yeshiva, Eliezer Bloch. And it turns out, right then, during the bar mitzvah, which was in the gym of the yeshiva, a bird, a dove, flew through the window and smashed the window, and the bird flew through the window. It was flying around everyone at the bar mitzvah, which was on Shabbat. And Chaim Steinschlitter, one of the Rosh Yeshiva, got up and he said, Rebellion Mayor, is coming back to visit, is coming back to enjoy the simcha with his favorite Talmid, with one of his favorite students, Rev Avrohom Tape.
The guy with your goo?
No, he's, a lot of times Klal Yisrael are referred to as a dove. It's a beautiful kahar bird. It's a dove, which is a dove is a very devoted bird. Its mate, so to the Bnei Yisrael, most devoted to Hashem. And right away, that was like a sign that the bird came to enjoy time with his students of Meir.
Eli Meir Bloch was a dove.
No, somehow like it was a sign like that they wanted to come enjoy the simcha. It turns out when he used to get called up to the Torah for Misha Berach, he would never say along Misha Berach like some people that they go, oh, I like to bless this person, my cousin, my nephew, my niece, my brother-in-law, my teacher, my son, my sister-in-law, her children. He didn't lengthen time because he felt Tzeicha de Tzibura. He would just go up to the Torah, he would give him some staki afterwards, thanks to the mitzvah, he was able to do this mitzvah of getting caught to the Torah, but he wouldn't make a lengthy Misha Berach, very short to the point, because again, he would not want to disturb, he would not want to bother the community to have to wait for him. It turns out he was always there, and he always spent his time as much as he could learning Torah. And one time, when he was in his workplace, they told him, hey, Rabbi, we're giving you a business car. Go to the car lot and pick out a fancy car. And right then, my brothers were very happy. Ooh, I was going to get a fancy car, cool car, great. But my father, Shalom, Avram, just went to the car lot. And he said, just give me any car, red car, good strong car, whatever, but it doesn't have to be fancy. The guy said, you want air conditioning? I said, it doesn't need air conditioning. And my brother's like, no, get air conditioning. How about a race stereo? That doesn't need stereo. My father said, as long as it's a functioning strong car, I don't need all these extra gadgets. When it has all these extra gadgets, it has extra problems too. You have to worry, is this going to break? Is this going to fix? How much is it going to cost? Just something strong. And you know what? It wasn't even power steering. Besides, it wasn't power windows. It wasn't even power steering. Big red Dodge Dart car. The guy, he didn't care about Olam Hazeh too much. He didn't care about making fancy houses. He never went to buy himself a house. He just lived in an apartment because he felt, what do we have to spend time earning money just to buy a house? This world is only temporary. He would just live in an apartment. And then when his family grew more, they took 2 apartments. They smashed a hole between one apartment and the second apartment. And this way, the 3-bedroom apartment turned to a 5-bedroom apartment where one part of the house was a dining room, one was a living room, one was a milcha kitchen, one was the fleisha kitchen, and he'd have a minyan in his house also for Shabbatot, also when he wasn't well, because it was hard to travel to yeshiva. One thing in particular with the Avrohom is, he was a pleasure to be around. Anyone who knew him was happy just to be around the Avrohom. Because he didn't hold himself as a great man. He was a very special man, a Talmid Chacham in his own right. But he didn't hold himself as anything. He used to be embarrassed of himself, just like he'd put his head down, and he would always be thinking in Torah, thinking thoughts in his mind. You could always see his fingers moving, even as he walked. He'd always be thinking, like, when we learn sometimes we move our fingers, you'd always be able to see how, like, he was always in a thought, like how he'd move his hands and his fingers in emotion to show that he was in deep thought of Torah. It was a very special thing that made people love him. It turns out, he used to always feed in the yeshiva the cats, the kittens, the raccoons, the skunks, the birds, and especially the little boys that would come around the store. Because he would show, Kol Merachim al Briot, you have to have mercy on Hashem's creatures, and sometimes he would even come right close to a raccoon and feed it. He wasn't scared. And he would feed these animals that would hang around the yeshiva campus. And it turns out, one time, he felt maybe it's not good these animals are always around the campus, the yeshiva. So, you don't want anyone getting hurt. So he had to put raccoon traps to catch the raccoons, to stop them, they shouldn't bite any children. And at that time, he took a cat, and he put the cat in his car, and he drove around 10 miles away to go drop off the cat far away, thinking, why should I have a cat that the cat's running around? And as he let the cat outside the door, it gave him a look of like, why are you betraying me? Why are you taking me away and kidnap me and put me away? And right then, Rev Avrohom felt a pain in his kidneys. After he had dropped off the cat, he felt a pain in his kidneys. And he wondered, maybe it's because I was Messiah, maybe I caused pain to one of Hashem's creatures. Maybe that's why I had to feel pain in my kidneys. And before you knew it, his kidneys failure led to other complications in health. And Rahman al-Islam, he had to go to the hospital to get a toe amputated, and eventually a knee, and then the other knee. But one time, as I was sitting in the sukkah, I said, Abba, why does such a tzaddik as yourself have to suffer? The Gemara says, if a person sees he's suffering, he's supposed to search his deeds. Abba, what abirah could you have done? You're always helping people, you're always learning Torah. He told me that when he was a young bacher, around 24 years old, he was dating a Kohenet girl, a girl from a family of Kohanim. And it turns out he wanted to get married to her, but suddenly his parents objected and said no way. And he wasn't sure what to do, so his parents said no, so he just left her. And he never went out with her again. He told me, since I had disrespect for the family of Kahuna, Kohanim are supposed to be honored, and respected, and admired, and here I just walked away. So those feet that just walked away with disrespect were feet that had to pay. And I said, Abba, just from that? And he said, what, you think honoring Kahuna is so small? It's a very important thing. Maybe he said I should have cheered her up, but I shouldn't have just walked away. And it turns out, even though his feet were cut off, he didn't lose his koach, his strength, his personality. I have a picture of my father. You see him without his legs, but with a smile on his face. You can't even tell that he had a tragedy. Because he was able to accept whatever Hashem does as good, as the best thing for me. And he used to say, Maimon, it's better if I got punished in this world and not in the real world, in the next world. And it turns out, they got him a prosthesis, they got him fake legs. But fake legs, of course, can't compare to real legs. You can't walk upstairs with a prosthesis because there's no toes that bend and keep your coordination. And it turns out, one time, Shabbat morning, he saw that it was late and his son was still sleeping. So he pushed himself and he was calling his daughter, Nechama, go wake up the boys. And he realized his bedroom was 4 bedrooms away from theirs. And she was sleeping 2 bedrooms away and she couldn't hear him calling. So he just rolled himself off the bed, fell on the floor and started crawling around the house. Crawling on his little stubs, on his little knees and his little hands, crawling just to be able to wake them up from minyan. Can you imagine how fast you'll rush to minyan when you saw someone crawl on his little knees just to tell you how important tefillah is? And it turns out, Shlomi, his son, who had exceptional kibud avaim, extraordinary kibud avaim, superhuman. He honored his father with class and with dignity. He made his father feel so good and so proud. Ready to buy him clothing, a new suit, beautiful glasses. Abba, respectable, you should look your best. Such a great man. And at that time, he took his father swimming. And as he took his father swimming, his father was in a wheelchair. But instead of bothering anyone to roll him over to the side of the pool and carry him in and pick him up, he shouldn't fall in. He just said, here, push my wheelchair to the side of the pool. And as they pushed the wheelchair to the side of the pool, he just jumped in by himself. Again, epitomizing someone who never bothers anyone else. He only thinks of everyone else. There was one nurse in the hospital who used to administer dialysis, a treatment, a medical treatment where they take out the blood of the person, of the patient who doesn't have kidneys, to clean the blood. And they take all the blood out of one arm through a machine that cleans the blood, and it sends the blood through the other arm. And it turns out, Hashem said refuah to everyone in Klal Yisrael is not feeling well. But it turns out, as the blood was going through the machine, there was one nurse who was very, very mean. Instead of being delicate and sensitive and caring and kind, putting in the needle in the right vein, she would just jab the needle in his arm. And it made his arm all swollen, black and blue. And it turns out, she used to pain him all the time, till after so many times of just jabbing the needles in the arm, and his arm was so swollen, Rev Avrohom told her, Hashem will bring justice. Right that week, her husband had a heart attack.